This, kiddies, is my Alice Cooper record collection. Hello everyone, it's me, Russ Shaw, and it's that time of year. It is fall, there's spooky decorations, summer's over, and everything is dying. What are we gonna do? Celebrate, I suppose. That's the Americanized Halloween. And one of my favorite artists of all time, going through my record collection here, someone I always gravitate to this spooky time of year, is Alice Cooper. Love Alice Cooper. I've loved Alice Cooper since I started getting into rock and roll back in the day. Started collecting his vinyl, lost some of his vinyl, had a CD or two that I got over the years, but then finding his vinyl again, going through bins and used stuff, and gleaning some Alice Cooper. Here's a stack of records right here, the 12 by 12 piece of artwork. Here you got the Alice Cooper Band on the back. This is the Killers album. This came out in 1971. Some great tunes on here. The song Desperado, I heard, was rumored back in the day to have been written by Jim Morrison of The Doors. Alice Cooper in some interviews actually debunked that and said that he wrote it about Jim Morrison, who was a friend of his and who had passed away around the time that they were writing songs for this album. And this is just a great album. Alice made 28 studio albums in his career. Alice is in his 70s now. It's hard to believe. And it's so great when some of these rock stars have that kind of longevity where they keep creating great music decade after decade, as Alice has. So yeah, 28 studio albums, 11 live albums. He's got 48 singles, one audiobook, and a handful of DVDs and stuff. I'll put a link in the description to the Paranormal show, which is actually on YouTube for free, and you can watch it for free this holiday season. So I hope you check that out if you are an Alice fan. Speaking of DVDs, I've got this DVD I bought years ago. This is Welcome to My Nightmare, a show on DVD, and it's not in letterbox, by the way. So this is old, right? It's a square picture, but I still really like it. Under My Wheels is on this album. Desperado, Be My Lover. That's a good song, right? She asked me why the singer's name was Alice. Dead Babies on side 2. The side 2 is interesting, and then Killer at the end. Desperado was rumored to be written about Jim Morrison, or by Jim Morrison. That's how I heard it at first. I heard that Jim Morrison wrote that song Desperado. He's uncredited, It was before he passed away. Later, in some interviews, Alice Cooper actually debunked that and said, no, he actually wrote it about his friend Jim Morrison when he passed away. So, but it sounds like something Jim would have wrote, right? Or sung. A few CDs that I have. I got the Greatest Hits CD, and this one that came out in 1989, Trash. This is an amazing album. It is on Rolling Stone's top 50 hair metal albums of all time. I think it's in the 30s. So it's heavily poppy, all right? It was pop music at the time. There's credits from Desmond Child produced it. Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, Joan Jett. I'm forgetting some people I know. But it's really cool how a bunch of artists came together and helped collaborate to make Trash. And then Alice Cooper Trashes the World. That concert was huge. But getting to the vinyl. Killers, 1971. Controversial album. Alice Cooper, he's one of the most shocking dudes to start making music, you know, popular music. This was considered pop music. Rolling Stone magazine ranked Killer one of the best albums in 1971. At the time, Rolling Stone critic Lester Bangs compared this album with some of the best Rolling Stones albums. It just got really good critical acclaim, and it's been called by him and many others the best Alice Cooper album by the band. For Warner Brothers, who was taking a risk at the time with this risque band, here's a company that was famous for making cartoons. This album went platinum. Platinum means that you've sold 1 million copies or more. So that is Killers, and it has some ring wear. It's in okay shape. I play it on the other turntable. Not so much the fancy one. This one we just got in Arizona, where Alice is actually from. And this is School's Out, and the record just fell on the ground. What the f? I dropped the record. Static brush, because there's like dog and cat hair on the floor.
Few moments later.
Try this again. This is School's Out, 1972. Yes, that's how old that song is. School's Out for summer. This record I got for $2, by the way, and it used to belong to Brady. That's right, one of the Brady bunch. That's probably not true. Listen to that, Poppy. It's funny because Alice actually has a foundation in the Phoenix area. He works through a church. Alice Cooper is a Christian guy, believe it or not, right? He works with a church and helps folks get into music. Teach guitar and drums, and different musicians come in, and there's a lot of equipment for kids to use. His charitable organization, his foundation, is called the Solid Rock Foundation, which helps to get music and purpose and, you know, something to live for in the lives of teenagers in the Phoenix area, which I think is really cool. And when COVID hit back in 2020, like, he was releasing these videos, and one of them was pretty funny. Like, when COVID hit, he said, well, school's out, which I thought that was brilliant. 1972, it's a great album, and I got this in Phoenix again at Zia's Records. I've got a few records there, but this one was only $2 because it's not in that great a shape. My friend Sean at Sean Spins was telling me that this actually is supposed to fold open like a desk, so you can see where it's ripped here, and these would have folded out like the legs of the desk, and you can set it down and then open the front, and the record is right there, which is cool. And you got Alice and the band. He was doing some interesting things with records back in the day. The way that they presented records, it wasn't like the normal way that records were presented. This is a cool album, the way it opens up and the way it was supposed to be presented. But that's why it was $2, probably, is because of the damage. The record itself isn't in that bad a shape. School's Out, we've got, you know, that's of course the biggest hit on this album, but it's still a really good record. I like this record. I'm glad I bought it for $2. A lot of their stuff was overpriced at CS. It was, but this was $2, and I don't regret buying it. It's in my Alice collection. This one was great, and I've owned this album a couple of times. I've bought it at Daybreak Records. I've not liked the copy and then found a better copy and then sold that copy. And so this is one of Alice's greatest albums. This is 1973, Billion Dollar Babies. Again, we have a record that folds open. It's like a wallet, see? Like a snakeskin wallet. Alice did some weird things with dolls on stage back in the day. Controversial stuff. And I've got the record in here. Warner Brothers was his label. And there is my disc keeper, $1 Billion Babies. And this, I love this copy because the record, it's not in the greatest shape, but what's cool about this is it came with all of the stuff, right? So it comes with this. So this is like $1 billion bill. $1 billion. I mean, we should really deposit this because it should just leaving it around the house here is irresponsible. It's $1 billion bill, which is cool. It's kind of like a poster you can hang on the wall. It's got a front and it's got a back. $1 Billion Babies. There were some other hits on this album. Hello, Hooray is on here. I Want to Be Elected. Every election cycle, there's a picture of Alice Cooper with dressed like Uncle Sam, with the hat and the stars and stripes and everything. And I always, if I'm going to vote for president, I didn't vote for Trump or Hillary or Biden. I voted for Alice Cooper because he's wanted to be elected since 1973, right? Want to be elected. No More Mr. Nice Guy is on here. I Love the Dead. Just a great song. This is a Halloween song. It's on every Halloween playlist. My family gets sick of hearing it on Halloween, but it's a great song. I Love the Dead, Alice Cooper. Those are the songs. Here's more of the cool stuff that came in the wallet. Sort of like, you got the picture. Back before cell phones, you would have pictures of your family or pictures of things in your wallet. So that's kind of a cool. And these are all, there's the band, Alice Cooper Band. And then there's you can actually bust these out and actually put them in your wallet if you wanted to carry them around, which is kind of cool. So that came with the record itself. Whoa, here's that. What else is in here? Another picture of the band. This is actually the sleeve of the record. And there's Alice and the band with $1 Billion Baby right there. Lyrics and stuff on the back. That's the record sleeve. Oh, that's just the back. So there's another another $1 billion tucked into the wallet there. So yeah, came with all that stuff. $1 Billion Babies, 1973. This album and a lot of what I'm sharing here from the Alice Cooper Band back in the day, like when Killers came out, I was 3 years old. All right, I'm 53 years old today. Some of this music is just timeless. I love that about it. And $1 Billion Babies. I got into $1 Billion Babies in the 1980s as a teenager. I know about Alice Cooper. And, some older friends shared Alice with me. And I'm like, that's an awesome song. I got to get that record. I think I got the cassette tape. And just a great record. But, yeah, when $1 Billion Babies came out, that was 1973. I was born in 1968. I was 5 years old, right? But this stuff lands on new ears. And it's still doing that today, which I think is really cool. There's Alice and his snake buddy. Now we move on to 1974, and this album is interesting because the band is going through, some flex, things are getting stirred up and interesting. So that's usually when bands release a greatest hits album, and this is Alice Cooper's greatest hits, 1974. When Van Halen finally released their greatest hits album, that's when Sammy Hagar quit, which is interesting. And it had David Lee Roth, who had a song or two, I believe, on that greatest hit. But that's a different band. But my point is, when a band releases a greatest hits album, it's usually like something's going on. What's going on? Like, should we worry? Greatest Hits album's coming out. But this is a cool album. It's a greatest hits. But I was really surprised that this album came out in 1974. When I finally realized that, was doing some research for this video. I'm like, 1974, really? Like, I had to fact check that when I first looked it up. And here's how I do my research. I'm not going to lie to you. Sure, I do some research on the web, but sometimes it's like, Alexa, how old is Alice Cooper?
Alice Cooper is 73 years old.
73. Wow. He's in great shape. Runs around the stage, still doing it, still knocking it out. This was 1974. I was what? I was 6 years old when Alice Cooper's greatest hits came out. That still blows my mind. Moving on. Now, so here we are, 1975. The Alice Cooper band broke up, all right? Now, Alice would say that they kind of took a break. It's more like that. You know, the media likes to sensationalize things. And so they didn't really break up. They just took a break. Kind of like the Eagles did, right? They made that album Hell Freezes Over. You know, we'll get back together when hell freezes over, or in the same room or whatever. And then they made the album Hell Freezes Over, which I thought was funny. And they released Eagles Greatest Hits 2. So, but anyway, Alice Cooper, back to Alice Cooper. Welcome to My Nightmare. This is an album that I fell in love with. I love this album. Again, it's another really good Halloween-y album. Just, I mean, Alice, you break this out on Halloween. This is when you listen to this album. It's just got some great Halloween type of songs on it. The Black Widow, which is also narrated by the man himself from the classic horror movies, Vincent Price. He was also in the Thriller song, right? He does a little voiceover thing in Thriller. He's probably done some other stuff for some other artists, but he does a whole cool little dialogue in Black Widow. Only Women Bleed. It's another great song. It's about domestic violence, really, that song. Welcome to My Nightmare, Devil's Food, Department of Youth, Cold Ethel. Now, here's a song that stirred up some controversy. And again, Alice Cooper, getting back to his shock rocker roots, has some pretty controversial songs on this album. And Cold Ethel was one of them. Way before Lil Nas X was doing lap dances for the devil, you had Alice Cooper making love to Cold Ethel by the refrigerator light. Big controversial song. We're introduced to Steven in this album. Steven makes an appearance in some other stuff, but we go into Steven's story and who Steven is, which is a interesting psychological dive on the theatrics of Alice Cooper and the storytelling. Cold Ethel. So again, it's 1975. There's a woman named Ann Landers who does a column in a lot of newspapers. Like, she's pretty famous. You know, this is before blogs were a thing, right? And she was a big voice for, you know, getting advice on stuff. And people would write to Ann Landers and she would answer back sometimes, or she would do social commentary. And she said, Alice, necrophilia is not funny. So she had a back and forth with Alice Cooper about that for that record, which I thought was pretty hilarious. There's some other Alice stories that I'm leaving out, but again, there's a movie I want to direct your attention to. It's The Legend of Shep Gordon, all right? It's probably my favorite rock and roll documentary. And there's a lot of them, and that's hard to say. The movie's called Supermensch, all right? You got to look it up wherever it is on Amazon or Netflix or I don't know, but it is a masterpiece. You have Alice Cooper in Wayne's World, and back when Alice Cooper was in Wayne's World, who was the Wayne's World guys? Wayne. It's Wayne and Garth. I knew that. Mike Myers, who plays Wayne in the movie, actually directs this film, Superbench, by the way.
No, stick around. Hang out with us.
Cool. Yeah, we'll stay and hang around with us. With Alice Cooper. We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
So by 1989, I wasn't buying records anymore. I know. But that's when Trash came out. A lot of those songs, by the way, I put on mixed tapes and then mixed CDs and then Spotify. So I have a whole Spotify playlist. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out my Halloween playlist. And it's years in the making. Stuff that we play around Halloween. Okay, so this album, Alice Cooper Goes to Hell, this came out in 1976. Again, is this Alice, solo Alice, whose name is Vince, by the way. Another famous rocker, Vince, is out there, but this is Vincent, and he going by Alice Cooper now. Anyway, it gets confusing, but this is not my favorite Alice Cooper record, all right? I mean, it went platinum in Canada, I guess, and it went gold here in the States, but it's a little disco. All right, which was kind of strange for Alice back in the day. Like, I get it. Again, we're talking about pop music, all right? That word pop means popular. And Alice Cooper was a popular artist at the time, making platinum records, right? Big selling records. And he comes out with this record, and, I gotta stay current, I guess. I don't know what his thinking was, but... yeah, that's that Alice Cooper. All right, Kiss did it too. Like Kiss, there's some Kiss records that got some Saturday Night Fever going on, straying away from the metal roots. But he does get a little rock and roll there. I remember growing up as a Christian kid back in the day, like thinking to myself, am I going to hell for listening to this music, right? Like, it was all the stuff your parents, like, everybody was, there's the thing called the Satanic Panic, right? Back in the 80s. And, yeah, it was funny. I was a little like, oh, this is kind of creepy. Like, this music is like, we got the devil in it or something. Is the demon's going to come into my ears and plant a worm virus or something? That's what we were starting to try and be, convinced of or brainwashed towards. And then years later, Alice comes out and says, yeah, well, by the way, I'm a Christian guy, and Alice is a character I was playing. And, just interesting. So, love Alice Cooper. Happy fall festival or whatever you celebrate during this time of year, as I'm recording this during Halloween. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, you know what to do. We all say that. Just go ahead and do it. It's super helpful. Thanks again. All right, and here's how you properly present a record from Alice Cooper and formerly the Brady collection. Thanks for watching, and it's a good time to subscribe if you haven't yet, because you're going to want to see more of this. I don't know, that's not true. I don't know what you're going to want to do. Who knows?